Hi, my name's Nairi, and I'm a person living with mental illness. I reside in a town called Mandurah, which is about an hour south of Perth in Western Australia. And I've been here probably about just over a year and a half. I live with my partner, soon to be husband. I live with his children, his mother and father, and my mum's friend also lives here. We also have two cats. No, not two cats. We have two dogs, a cat, and some guinea pigs, three guinea pigs to be precise. So, as you'll see in the videos that I'll be uploading in the future, there's no editing. There's mistakes made. I may stumble over my words. I say quite a bit, but that's just who I am. And I want this to be a very real experience for the viewer as well. So that you feel that you're sitting in my lounge room. I'm not actually in my lounge room right now. I'm in the garage, but yeah, to help you feel like you're getting support, or that you're talking or listening to a friend. So these videos are to help those with mental illness, and to help you feel that you're not alone in this journey, even though our diagnosis and our symptoms will be very different. That there are people out there that are struggling just as you are, and yeah, we can do this together. I'm also hoping that we can educate uh, mental health professionals a little bit as well. I've had some shocking experiences with mental health workers, and mostly because of some of the diagnosis that I have. But some, I think, there's just high burnout, or just dissatisfaction, or maybe hands being tied behind their back, like not being able to respond the way that they'd like to. I've had some really amazing experiences as well, and I'll share a bit of everything with you. So it's probably best to go back to the start, when all this started for me, to explain a little bit about what was happening at the time, what diagnosis I have, the symptoms that I have, and how it's regressed, and probably where we're at now with it. So yeah, I first started having mental health issues when I was it'd be about 15, 16. I drank and I did drugs at quite an early age. I was about 12. And I just thought that they were like hallucinations, or a bit of psychosis because of the drugs I was doing. Mostly pot, but occasionally, yeah, a little bit heavier stuff. So yeah, I kind of brushed it aside, and looking back on it years later now, I can see that there's definitely some of the symptoms that I have now that I was experiencing at quite a young age. So yeah, I had depression probably around late teens. I was about 17, 18, and I just put that down to circumstantial. So I I finished school. I couldn't get a job. I tried my hardest to get work, and I was just unsuccessful. I had moved uh, right right at that time, and I yeah, I didn't really have a lot of close friends. I had lots of drinking buddies and drugging buddies, but yeah, I didn't really have a lot of friends at that time. So I think that's probably they're probably like some circumstances that caused my depression. I then developed panic disorder in my early 20s. I remember having panic attacks, and yeah, feeling like I was dying. Like in the middle of the night, just this massive fear of dread would just come over me, and I felt like my heart was going to stop, and my heart was racing, and I was all sweaty, and yeah, it was they were horrible experiences at that time. So yeah, I had that. I was also diagnosed with ADHD in my early 20s. Um, I don't remember where or who I went to, but I know that I was struggling to sit still at TAFE during my course, And yeah, kind of over the next 20 years or so, I kind of just struggled with alcoholism and drug addiction, mostly alcoholism. And yeah, I hit it really heavy, um, late teens. I stopped when I was 20, and I gave up for like 10 years or so. And then when I'd had a relationship of, I think it was about 13 years, I had a relationship and it broke down due to infidelity for the third time, and not on my side, it was the other person's side. And I was fine for a week. I thought I was handling it like an adult, and just, you know, we'll do this with the finances, we'll do this with the house, we'll do this with the animals, that kind of thing. And I went and stayed at a friend's place, and a week later, it was like the lid opened on my head and my brain, and all my thoughts and everything just went out basically. And I became suicidal like instantly, a week later, and which was really strange for me. I had thoughts in the past, but it never went beyond that. But I had a plan this time, and um, yeah. So my friend took me to the hospital, and this is where I went to an acute unit for the first time. And I don't remember much about being in the unit, but I was there for about 2 weeks, I think, and I was put on antidepressants. I was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, and yeah, I don't remember much else really about that experience, apart from my voice, which I call the puppet master. Um, that's when that all started. Um, so I could hear him, I could see him, um, kind of like a little Dracula character, and would like taunt me. Would be up the end of like the hallways and stuff like that. And I remember him instructing me to do away with myself. Um, yeah, it was quite a really scary experience because I had never really experienced that before. I do recall when I was about 16, like I said, you know, doing a bit of pot and drinking heavily. I do recall having a male voice instructing me to jump in front of traffic, and I just thought it was just an hallucination, or yeah, just the effects of the alcohol and the drugs together. But yeah, now I look back and it's like, you know, I do recall this male voice like much earlier in my life. And then I came out. I kept having bouts of feeling like I didn't want to be here. I felt very depressed, and I kept hearing this voice. And I took myself back to hospital a few times. All my friends took me to hospital a few times. I went back in the unit a couple of times, but because I'd been diagnosed with borderline personality disorder right from the start of my mental health journey, or my mental illness journey, it was very much, you know, you don't deserve to be here kind of thing, or this is not, you don't deserve to be here, but this is not the place for you. The place for you is at home. Excuse me, that's somebody's horn out the front. Uh, yeah, so I then I then moved to Brisbane. Yeah, I moved to Redbank to live with my mum because the relationship, there was no chance of it reconciling. So I moved in with my mum, and I went to the Ipswich mental health unit regularly. I remember being in there for a month at a time, sometimes, and weeks on end. There was one year where I was in hospital more than I was out of hospital, and yeah, I just, the voices kept coming. I was put on antipsychotics, high doses of antipsychotics. I'd started to self harm more as well. That started for me when I first went to the unit, purely as a result of being instructed to by my voice, not for any other reason. And it's continued since then. I've had multiple presentations to multiple hospitals in Australia, in all states. I've had a manic and a psychotic episode where I drove interstate, um, self-harm, drank, just totally just not on this planet. And ended up in hospitals all over the place and mental health units. Now, where we're at now, so they've continued, even though I've had testing done by a clinical psychologist a few years ago, and being diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder, OCD, PTSD, borderline personality disorder, and a touch of autism. They still continue to go with borderline personality disorder purely because of the self-harm element to my mental illness. But they've refused to acknowledge that I have schizoaffective disorder, even though it clearly shows in the testing that that's what's going on. Because of that, I'm very unsafe when I get unwell these days here, because they send me home when I'm not well, and that leads to escalation of my symptoms. It leads to really severe self-harm, and it also leads to suicide attempts. So, very unsafe, walking around in the middle of the night, drinking, hurting myself, wanting to die, that kind of thing. So, more recently, like very recently, I actually withdrew from the mental health service here that I was part of, purely for the reason that I don't think they can be effective if they're not even going to recognise all of the symptoms and all of the diagnosis that I have. If they're just going with the one, and I'm very unsafe. So I've taken out private health, and I've just been referred today to a private psychiatrist. So hopefully that gets up and running soon. So like it's very difficult living with these illnesses. There's days that I just wake up and I have the voice straight away, and it's just a real struggle to get through the day. I've been sober, I think I'm at 56 days today. It's 55 or 56 days, and that's been really helpful for me, because, alcohol and mental illness, or alcohol and medication, just is not a happy combination for me. So that's been really helpful for me, because I've also been harm-free for that amount of days as well. And I haven't felt like taking my life either. So, it is a struggle, but there's been some really great moments as well. And I'd like to share some of those things as well, on my future videos. So if you're keen to find out more, subscribe, and maybe comment about what you'd like to hear a little bit more about. So it kind of directs me into what you want, basically. And I'm really looking forward to hearing from others, and maybe getting some supports going. I'm very keen to use. My mum passed away in late 2024, and I was left with the inheritance from the sale of her house. And I'd very much like to use some of that to open up a place in Mandurah for people with mental illness, like a like a drop-in centre, but probably class that more as a mental health service. So referral information, and just a place to feel safe and just go when you're struggling. So yeah, I'd like to use some of that money to open up a place like that, and it's going to be called Sylvie's Place after my mum. So yeah, I will update on the progress of that as I go along. But yeah, really looking forward to connecting with others in the world, and really looking forward to being able to help others that have mental illness as well. So yeah, lovely to meet you all, and looking forward to future videos. Thank you.